Hello, how are you doing, sir?
I am my usual self.
Ah, fantastic.
I'm a ray of sunshine in everyone's life.
You are. I came in and a smile just came across my face as soon as I saw your cheeky chops.
Yeah, in the same room, we just, lighting it up, aren't we?
Yes. Making everybody's day brighter.
Yeah.
That little bit more fun,
Yeah, that's what we're here for. I mean,
don't get paid for it.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. We do this out of the kindness of our hearts.
It's all goodwill. It's all goodwill and exposure.
Yeah.
But did you know that Tarman pays me?
What? What for?
I just thought I'd let that out
For
the
this?
bag. She's been doing it for half a year now. She pays me $22.50 an episode.
What a bitch.
How much do you get?
I don't get anything.
Oh shit! Oh,
she's really used me, hasn't she?
Damn! I was joking, man.
Yeah, sure.
I'm just moving swiftly on. So since the last episode, I think there's been quite some changes in the society that we live in, hasn't there?
Yeah. Although Tarman's still at her children's party, I should add.
Yes.
She doesn't change.
I don't think she left, actually.
I know. She rather enjoyed that one.
I know. She's left. I mean, the Brexit happened. Russia invaded us.
Yay!
Yay, Russia. We're our Russian overlords. We really love them.
Yeah.
So,
we bow
yay
down
to them.
to Putin.
Yeah, they freed us, if anything.
Yeah.
So thank you, guys. We really appreciate the freedom, and we can't get enough of it.
We worship the shirtless Putin.
And all bears would wrestle him, line up to wrestle him, just for the honour of being defeated by the supreme being.
Yeah, it's such an honour to die for him, isn't it?
It is.
Yes.
I think my death is scheduled next Tuesday, and I eagerly await it.
Yeah.
It's got the urge to purge.
I love that one.
Yeah. Oh man, yeah. So interesting. Other than that, though, it's been quite quiet, and we're just seeing the effects of what might happen.
Yeah.
You can notice that one thing that has happened is I've gotten rid of that brass clock that kept ticking in my room.
Oh yeah. I did hear certain Tarman wanted to bash your head with it or something.
Yeah, well, it's one of those grubby little pieces of brass. It's quite disgusting actually because you touch it. I think it's quite old. You touch it, it leaves a real tinny metal brass smell on your fingers.
Yeah,
and it just every time I have to wind it up, I have to wash my hands afterwards. I don't know why. It's not bacteria or anything. It's just I don't like that metal smell.
Yeah, brass.
Bit
like lead, isn't it?
Yeah, a little bit. Well, I think right now it's time for a bit of a tune, don't you think?
Yeah, I do.
Intro music.
Welcome to the Dorks Deduction Podcast, where we talk about stuff.
You're like an old man calling for intro music.
Leicester Square. Okay. Hello, you're back.
Back in the room.
Back in the room. Speaking of brass and other metals, we have some other metals to discuss today, don't we?
Yeah.
Oh, what a shit segue. I tried so hard to stretch that.
Yeah, I really couldn't think of anything for this one.
I tried. I did quite a good job, had the premise set up, and I'm explaining my magic now, but fuck it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the worst one we've done. At least it was kind of, we knew it was a segue.
Well, let's hope, okay? Let's hope. That's one of my favourite ones. But yeah, so the lead mask case. This one, an anomaly.
Yeah,
if anything.
It's quite a treat for our listeners, this one.
Yeah.
We're going to be taking them to Brazil today.
The city of problems.
Yes, to a place called Niterói, or a city called Niterói, I should say, in Rio de can't say it.
Rio De Janeiro.
Janeiro. Is it? I can't remember how they say
Rio
it.
De Janeiro.
Janeiro.
Yeah, Rio De Janeiro.
Yeah, that sounds better though. I do like Janeiro.
De Janeiro. It's Rio De Janeiro.
Yeah, I'm not. Okay, I won't be saying that then.
I didn't know if you were being serious.
No, I knew it was Janeiro.
Oh, okay.
But, I might just say Janeiro.
So in Rio de Janeiro.
Yes. Well, particularly we're going to take you to a place called Morro de Ventum, which is called the Ventum Hill. And this was interesting in 1966 because on August the 20th, an 18-year-old man called José da Costa discovered 2 deceased males on the hill, basically. I think they were covered by bushes, from what I was reading. And he reported this to the authorities, but because it's quite hilly terrain and it's not very friendly terrain. It's quite difficult to kind of get around there. If you look on the internet, you can see a photo of it, and it does look quite hilly and stuff like that for a hill. So that's really good terminology there.
Now, I swear I've heard this story somewhere before, back when I was, I would browse the internet at like 1 a.m. looking for creepy stuff. And I think I came across this at one point, but I don't know if it was they found them next to a river or something, or...
I don't think so.
No. I think I'm thinking of someone else. But I do remember this story. It was quite famous for a while.
I don't know if you might have read it on Creepypasta, because it's got a creepypasta.
Oh, is it a creepypasta?
It's not an actual creepypasta, but it's
that would explain it.
Yeah, it's on there.
Yeah.
And there's a few like articles, but they just tend to say the same thing, really. Yeah. So, so the police hadn't been able to reach the bodies until the next day. So, as you can imagine, there's a lot of decomposing going on by this point, which lovely.
Lovely.
Hope you're not going to have your dinner anytime soon.
We all like a bit of that.
Yeah, well, we all have to go through it at some point, I guess. So.
Oh yeah.
Just that, sense of togetherness. That's what I'm trying to, all in it together. On one article it says a team of police and firefighters. I'm not entirely sure why firefighters needed to be there, whether it was due to the difficult terrain, I don't know. But yeah, so the police immediately noticed that the bodies were in slightly odd conditions. The two bodies were like lying next to each other, and they were like slightly covered by grass, so you couldn't quite see them immediately. And what was odd was they were both wearing quite like formal suits, so quite smart.
So kind of gangsters in a way. Yeah,
so quite dressed up to be out where they were, which is a bit odd. But even more interesting, they had 2 lead eye masks over their eyes, and they both had a waterproof coat, which wasn't actually too odd because it had been raining in the area quite a lot recently. Even though it was summer at the time, but you do still tend to get rain in the summer. Just ask Britain,
Of course, we're used to it ourselves.
Yeah, now, there was no obvious, at that point, no signs of trauma, and didn't seem to be any kind of evidence of a struggle, so there was no evidence like there'd been shooting or anything like that. There wasn't much blood about. Now, next to the bodies, they found an empty water bottle and a packet containing 2 wet towels, as well as a small notebook, which inside there was some rather like cryptic instructions, So, and I can't really speak Portuguese, so I'm just going to say what it says in English, basically. It says 16:30, be at the specified location, 18:30, ingest capsules, and then lastly it says, after the effect, protect metals, await signal mask. Now, that's the general kind of gist, I think, of what it's saying, because like every article I've said changed it slightly. So, but it's cool because it's probably been translated from Portuguese, so you get different things from this.
Yeah.
So, who were these two people then? Well, they turned out to be Manoel Pereira de Cruz and Miguel José Viana, and they were two electricians, specifically, I think, television electricians, whatever they call them, and they were from a place called Campos dos Goitacazes, I think. I'm not sure.
Goitacazes.
Kezes, yeah.
Yeah, one of those sort of names.
Yeah, and that's...
Well, here at the Dog Seduction, we're not exactly known for our punctuality on the pronunciation.
Yeah. Yeah. We're trying, that's the main
We do try.
Yeah. And that's... what's interesting about this is that's quite far away. Well, kind of far away. It's to the northeast of Rio de Janeiro, or Janeiro.
Yeah. Janeiro.
Yeah, and I was reading somewhere it's a good, 3 hours or so away from there by bus, which is how these two got to, what's the place called? Niterói. So, yeah. And they'd last been seen at a bar where they brought this water. What's interesting is they brought a bottle of water between them.
Ah.
Well, not necessarily interesting, but they seem to be sharing it. So I don't know whether it was for some other use. You don't know. They seem to be the person who sold them the water said one of them seemed quite agitated. I think it was Manoel.
Yeah.
He seemed quite agitated, and they kept checking the time and stuff like that. So they were clearly waiting for either someone or something at some point. Now they had told their relatives that they were just going out for some electrical appliances or something like that, because they're electricians.
Of course,
so
yeah.
It's not quite the same as saying you're going for cigarettes and never coming back, but it did seem they had some other purpose, perhaps. Although I only found this on one website, but one website suggested that they had actually brought some electrical appliances or something like that. So they may have actually gone and got what they'd said they were going for, but they clearly had something else that they wanted to do as well. And the waterproof coats that had been found, receipts showed that they'd been bought on the day at a shop in Niterói. So they'd got to Niterói, we assume, and discovered it was raining or something like that, and decided we're going to need some waterproof coats. Now, autopsies discovered no injuries, so this kind of makes it even more mysterious. Toxicology reports could not be done because the bodies had literally decomposed so much by that point, and also the coroner's office was quite busy, so it didn't. That's why they'd been left quite a while. So this all kind of leads to a kind of case where nothing much has been found out, and they did attempt to look at the internal organs of the two victims, which, if you've read the capsules bit in the kind of notebook, that'd be kind of, I suppose, one of the first things you'd want to look at. But as I said, they just couldn't test them really because they were too badly decomposed by that point. So that's really kind of... there's one other thing that I did read. I did read they had enough money to buy a small car at that point. But some of that money was missing when they were found. So what happened to that money? I'm guessing some went to buying the waterproof coats and the bottle and the wet towels. But it's all kind of quite mysterious. Why did they need these like wet towels and stuff like that? Why did they need the lead eye mask? What were they for? And why were they just dressed up so smart and stuff like that? So it's all quite intriguing at this point. And now one thing at this point that a lot of people tend to point out is that lead eye masks, it's kind of like thing you use to protect yourself against radiation.
Oh, like one of those archaic sort of shields.
Yeah. So quite some articles theorise they were kind of, there's some radiation thing going on here.
Wow.
But I read one article that said, realistically, if it was to do with radiation, you'd expect them to have a lead mask that covers their face.
Yeah.
Because, like just covering your eyes is a bit useless, basically.
Pretty much.
Still burn up and stuff like that. So that's not really a kind of...
So these masks, did they just cover the eyes? Or
they're just eye masks, basically.
I see. So they didn't actually cover up the mouth or anything like that? Or...
No, it's just literally eyes. Apparently, some people get the fact it could be radiation due to the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy or something. I think it's either that or the wet towels. There's something mentioned about in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy about
you gotta have your towel ready.
Yeah. Well, it is interesting to point out that Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy hadn't been written by 1966. It was still a good 10 years or so out of the way. But that a lot of people retrospectively have kind of attempted to put that kind of spin on it. But some people consider this quite unlikely, just because if it was to do with radiation, they were obviously a bit stupid.
Then again, we say what's likely and what isn't. But then again, we don't know what was going through these guys' heads anyway. And
obviously,
I think that's what makes it a bit creepier. Either they were a bit insane, that they were doing something that didn't make sense, or they knew something that we didn't, which is even creepier.
Yeah. So I'm going to come on to, I know it's a bit early, but I'm going to come on to the theories now.
Yeah.
About
I think
what possibly could have happened here.
With a case like this that we sometimes cover anyway, it's I think I said before, they're anomalies. They're not really something you can have too much of a thought about. It's more, here's this weird thing that happened. We don't know too much about it. Let's observe and look at what people think may have occurred.
Yeah. So I'm going to start with the idea possibly of suicide.
Uh-huh.
There's possibly this is some cult-like suicide.
The cult of eye goggles or something.
Yeah. I did hear someone call it like mass suicide, but I was like, is 2 people mass suicide?
I don't think so.
Yeah,
I mean, what is a mass? At what point do you consider it a mass?
Yeah, I just feel personally it's got to be more people than 2. It'd be double suicide.
Yeah, I mean, you have to get up to a cluster before you get to a mass.
Yeah. Don't you? But some people posit that they could have just been 2 members of a cult that decided to commit suicide. Because some people just feel it's just slightly reminiscent of the Heaven's Gate one, even though that's a lot more people. But it's the fact they were like wearing Nike trainers Nike or something like that.
I mean, in a way, that's more creepy. Instead of being suits and it's just like chill out Kappa gear or something like that.
Yeah, I always found that the oddest one. I remember reading about that. But yeah, the Heaven's Gate one's creepy. What I remember from the Heaven's Gate one is they had that chemical castration done.
Yeah, did that actually happen?
Yeah, that happened. The leader, done it to himself. Well, I don't know if he did it to himself.
Did he just do it to himself, or did he?
I know some of the others got it done to them. I don't think quite everyone had, but yeah.
I mean, it is dedication, I suppose, but bloody hell, man.
Yeah.
So it was real.
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah. No, the Heaven's Gate. I remember reading about that. I'm like, yeah, I'm not too keen on these cults.
No.
Yeah.
There are very few cults I am a fan of, really.
Yeah, to be fair. I like they're interesting, but I would never actually.
Yeah. What happened to the good old, Baphomet Satanism sort of cult?
Yeah.
Back when you knew what your cults were about.
God, I tell you what, I am diverging a bit here, but there's a place near where my sister's living at the moment because she's living with her husband's mum and dad, and it's called Bolsover, and it's considered the most satanic place in England.
Oh, fantastic!
Yeah, because apparently there's a lot of satanic rituals that have happened there over the years, and it's also known for a Labour MP called Dennis Skinner.
Yeah,
he's the one that keeps calling David Cameron Dodgy Dave and stuff like that,
and he's in charge of that area.
Yeah, he's the MP for that area, and they call him the Beast of Bolsover because he's kind of like typical says what he thinks kind of type.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I should get back to this one now. Some people suggested it's because it does have like some possibly cult-like kind of connotations. Like it does sound like those slightly odd things that would happen in a cult, suicide, things over your eyes and stuff like that. It's the oddness of, I think, how they were found. Also, like just the way they were kind of very like laid out quite neatly. So you kind of assume that it could have possibly been like, it's almost as if they lay down, took the capsules, which we don't know what these capsules were really, so it can't really say. So whether it was, see, when I think of capsules, I just think of cyanide and stuff like that. I always think of the Nazis committing suicide.
I mean, to be honest, there's not really many other cyber capsules you could take unless it was some sort of like you can't really say truth capsules. But, I don't know, like maybe a slow ending capsule. Maybe they were meant to be tortured or something. Yeah.
One theory that also I've heard go furthering on this cult thing is that they were waiting for the mothership or something, whatever they call it. The ship that's going to come down and take them up. So, and some people believe that whole like the lead mask over the eyes is a part of a condition. You can't be able to see it. It's got to take you up by itself. So they believe that these two guys were possibly believed that you had to take this capsule or like you had to die because there's the Heaven's Gate was all about you had to die before you could get on the mothership, wasn't it? So
before you could fly away, yeah.
Well,
strangely enough, I think I prefer that reason.
Yeah.
I think it's the whole thing of it's to do with Brazil's alien culture. We all know about America's alien culture, right?
Yeah.
But Brazil does have its own. Like, I think Brazil is probably one of the last uncharted areas on Earth anyway.
Yeah.
So you do have that air of mystery to it.
I do know in Sherlock Holmes, they always say like in that he always says South America is always kind of quite. It's got all the kind of there's like cults and the occult's quite popular.
I could believe that, man.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not too far from. Well, it's pretty far, but it's nearer to Louisiana than it is any other. Well, that's a bit far fetched, actually. Is it nearer Louisiana? Louisiana's on the south, isn't it, of America?
I was talking about South America's in.
Yeah, but I mean, like Louisiana has that close knit to occult voodoo and stuff, and then,
actually, it could be. I think actually,
and then like the souther you go, the more outlandish things get.
Yeah, well, I mean, to be fair, the more south you get, the more religious it is. You always hear about they're from the south and they speak like rednecks or whatever.
But I've always seen those really heavily religious places as like, the more you try, the more you create. So, like, for instance, have you ever heard of that place in Sicily where they have those dead monks mummified in the area? And of course, you think to yourself, well, that's got to be like, they make that extra religious, but it's almost a cult in its own way because of how, far they take this practice, this religion. And it's almost like its own little sect. And then you can imagine there'll be, like, satanist cults everywhere else,
Yeah. It's a fair point, actually, because I think what people forget is a kind of Catholic church. They've got some quite almost cultish practices in some ways. Like, I've been there and, like, to Italy when they've had, it was around, like, Easter time. And they do a lot of, like, the processions and the marches. And it's great to watch, but there is something slightly intimidating about it.
It's like enforcing this belief on the street. I don't know how to explain it without sounding like a bigot. I don't want to sound like a bigot myself. Like, no, it's not allowed or something. But it's just like, I don't know. It's
it is kind of like it is like great. I say it's great to watch, but there's part of it you do feel slightly kind of nervous because they're all kind of wearing these like cloaks and stuff like that. And I mean, obviously, because we're more used to seeing it as like the Ku Klux Klan or something like that.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
where I think they say the Ku Klux Klan did kind of get the kind of inspiration for the clothes from the Catholic Church, but
pretty much. I guess it's also because like these aren't communities that are known for their multiculturalism or sharing of beliefs. It's always one dominant religion and it's enforced as well in a way, I suppose. But that's why to them it's not weird, but to us it's like
just because you don't really see it too often.
Yeah.
Well, I have to admit, when I was younger, I did. My uncle, who's kind of reverend or minister, whatever you call it, we did have to march around our town behind a cross.
Really?
Yeah, which was great. All the kids that I knew at school.
Well, I guess back then you didn't really think too much about it, did you?
I just didn't want to be there. I wanted to be at home so no one saw me. So I was kind of like, just get it over and done with as quick as possible. So that's one theory that's put forward, that they were kind of basically they were just waiting for the mothership to take them up to heaven or wherever they thought they were going. Because I was saying the Heaven's Gate cult believed they had to die. That wasn't until quite late on. I think for a long time they believed they could get there while you're still alive, but the Applegate, I think it was called, or something like that. He decided after so long that they had to die to get there. Yeah, because isn't it all about like the second coming of Jesus as well and stuff like that?
Sometimes it is, but
yeah.
Sometimes I don't know what's going through the head, and sometimes I think they're just deliberately leaving their followers out of the loop.
Yeah,
wherever that loop might be.
Yeah. Now, it's really hard to say whether this is the true case or not. You can't like. I can imagine it could possibly be true. It's got like some hallmarks of what could be like a suicide, but it's not like the only problem. One person reading on website is that they had actually brought some of this electrical equipment, so whether that possibly suggested they weren't planning on dying, possibly. But it's hard to tell, really. Now, this is all kind of going to link in a bit, but the general theory is that they were spiritualists of some sort, because there is friends of the two said that they had like an interest in that kind of thing, and I read somewhere that one of the two had been building a machine or something like that, which had exploded at some point in his back garden or something like that, and they did have books on on kind of these things and stuff like that. So, particularly, there's a book. Well, there's not one, but at one of their houses, they'd found a tool that would be used for like cutting out lead masks. So, and there was, and the book that I was talking about, it had like passages relating to intense luminosity and stuff like that, and it was all about spirits and stuff like that. So there's a general sense that these two are possibly into some spiritualist kind of stuff, and this area, the what's it called again? The Vinton Hill had been apparently reported as having quite a lot of UFOs being seen there. One woman had claimed, I think she'd seen on the night of the murder. Actually, this was, or the whatever happened, I should say. Actually, one woman claimed that she'd seen this kind of UFO with orange light just pouring out of it. So, what that was about, and whether you believe that really as well.
I don't know actually. It's always come down to one person saw something, but it's the lack of it's one person's word against your own belief of reality.
Yeah.
You can't really. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, the police weren't too convinced by that one. And also, apparently, a lot of people used to complain about UFOs there and stuff like that. But I remember reading somewhere that the amount of UFO cases that are seen near airports and stuff like that as well.
Yeah.
So whether it could have just been like an airplane flying around somewhere close by, and and
what was that reported? When was that reported?
It was reported, I think, a couple of weeks afterwards or something like that. But I was reading one article saying a lot of like the reports about this case come from what's like a Brazilian like tabloid magazine. And so it used to be a lot about kind of celebrities and stuff like that and sports figures. And there's a feeling that it's all a bit like sensationalized. And so whether some of the facts of this might have been slightly sexed up a bit or not.
Yeah.
So
to be fair, like this was in the 60s, yeah?
Yeah.
There was a lot of that sort of reporting, wasn't there? And plus it couldn't be widespread. I mean, the CIA had a massive control over... It wasn't blatant. It was quite blatant, sorry, as well, because they were in control of what people thought and stuff, weren't they? They were like their own little secret police, but it was just, So I'm not surprised I wouldn't be surprised if the woman did see something, but it was something to do with the government. It couldn't have been.
Yeah. So, UFO's one big theory. It kind of fits into the suicide one, but it also fits into another theory I've heard that these two electricians had learnt to time travel. Which, is possible, maybe.
Maybe. You never know. I'm not writing anything off. I'll believe stuff when I see it. Just...
it would explain their worrying about the time, I guess.
Of course.
So, this is... I mean, how we can tell whether they learned to time travel or not. We can't really know that one. So, that's something that people out there genuinely tend to believe. Another theory is aliens, that they were somehow killed by aliens, and they may have possibly taken their souls, I think. So, that's kind of... the theory is, I think, that these two went to this Vinton Hill to try and get into contact with aliens. And apparently they were quite obsessed with UFOs and stuff like that. And these two had studied like UFO sightings and stuff like that. And one website I've read even claims that they built a laboratory for this purpose. I'm not quite sure whether that's true or not. So there's some like alien time travel theory here. Again, and this comes into goes back to the radiation thing a bit. Some people claim that that they believe the UFOs could have given off radiation or something like that, and that's what the and that's what like the lead mask's for. But
of course that's why it was. I mean, it has to be aliens giving off radiation to the eyes. You know, that's the only possible explanation.
I just what the wet towels were for, though.
Well, it comes down to when you're having a bath.
Yeah.
And you think, oh, crikey, this is an out-of-the-world experience because you just bought some new shampoo or something. But then you get a bit of it in your eye, and you're like, oh, Christ. So you need a towel quickly to relieve that soreness. Yeah. I think the towels were probably backups in case the fucking lead didn't do its job or something. Like, hey, you know what? Why wouldn't you bring a towel? You know, like, it'll be like, I know it's not as strong as lead, but fuck it. There's no shame in bringing it just in case. You know, you don't know what these aliens are like. Fuck it. At least that's my interpretation, I think.
I just feel it's a bit odd they went over their faces, in a way.
Yeah.
I just thought that's what you kind of used them for, to cover your face or something like that. I don't know whether they'd be able to protect you against radiation much, but you know, I don't know. But I don't think there's too much more on the UFOs, and I don't really know much about UFOs myself, so I can't really add much to that. Apart from the fact that that this UFO must have killed them immediately or something like that, or killed them somehow. But it doesn't really explain the capsules necessarily, UFOs. Unless this the writing in the notebook is by an alien that knows how to write and in English. So yeah. So that's those two theories. There is one claim that could have been murder, possibly. Very elaborate kind of murder as well, because it's all the idea is it could have been to do with a robbery. So some people, or one person even, may have known that these two had money on them, and maybe gone after them and told them to meet them somewhere to get this money off them. It's going to quite a lot of effort, I think, and all the other like lead mask stuff and the wet towels, that's quite a lot of effort as well. Usually if you're just robbing someone, you try and just, you don't even necessarily have to kill someone to rob them either. You just knock them out, unless they saw your face or something. Yeah, also you expect to see some kind of blunt force if you're robbing someone as well.
Yeah,
I'd expect. You don't tell people to take capsules and then take the stuff. So I don't know.
Although, think about it, like, it wouldn't be out of the world to for whoever did this to say, look, let's just make this look as weird as possible, and throw off anyone that might be considering looking into it.
Yeah, I don't know, but I just feel like for the money, they could buy a small car, but it wasn't. Small cars back then weren't worth much. I was reading, so it's not as if it's like loads of money. Whether you'd have to be pretty desperate, and usually if you're desperate, you tend to be a bit more sloppy about things. You tend to kind of, you tend to beat people up to get money rather than. That's just how I feel about it. So I'm not convinced by the murder. Well, not convinced by the murder for robbery theory. Whether it was some like elaborate murder for some other reasons, whether it like because we have heard like about cult wars before and stuff like that. Whether it could have been wars between two cults or something.
Now
like that.
That I would love to see. Not just gang wars. Gang wars are all right, but cult wars. Wow, that would be awesome.
Yeah, it's like my aliens are better than your aliens and stuff like that. So I'm not convinced by murder as such. To be honest, I think At the moment, I'm going for suicide, possibly. Or there's an idea that they were murdered somewhere else, and then they were just laid down where they were. But I just can't think of a motive, really. I mean, unless they'd done a dodgy job on the television or something, and that particularly angered someone, and because they couldn't watch television or something. They were like, "I'm going to kill those two." Yeah.
If only cults were that materialistic, I would actually be happy for them.
Yeah.
There are some cults out there that I actually I support, like the ones that like not really a cult, I suppose, the Raving Loony Party that opposes presidential prime minister candidates. I think it's in America. And then you've got this guy who he's not really a cult master or anything, but he's kind of formed a cult of his own unintentionally. Have you heard of a guy called Captain Bean? Captain Baked Bean.
Baked Bean. Oh.
He's he's in Wales.
Yeah.
Whenever the general elections happen, he puts in his hat for the Captain Bean party.
Yeah.
And he's literally, and I'm not joking, a man who's permanently tanned his skin all orange to the colour of a bean.
Wow.
Bean sauce, that is. He always wears a cape.
Yeah.
He fucking eats baked beans 24/7. He's that into baked beans. He's got his name changed to Captain Bean, Baked Bean. If you look this guy up, he looks like if Right Said Fred went to Mallorca or like Sicily for a while and just tanned out for I don't know how many years. He's bald as a bean. He looks like a baked bean, and he's achieved it. But he always applies to become prime minister, and it's like, oh, bless him, I love him. He's awesome. But people form like this cult around him, like because he always goes and helps out the community. So he's like a figure of mystery,
Yeah.
And some people form like not really a religious cult or worship, but their own little, I guess, the lighter sense of the word. They're just
good old
fans of him.
British eccentric.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I tell you what, like, I mean, we always consider eccentricity as being quite a British thing, but if you look, it's all around the world, really. Like, the Belgians can be quite eccentric. I watched a documentary about that. They've got the guy who dresses up as a penguin.
Yeah.
And he's obsessed with penguins. And he's all like, his house has got penguin like ornaments all over the place, and he even tries to walk like a penguin and stuff like that.
Oh, brilliant!
He's amazing. He's been on quite a few like documentaries. There's one where I think Jeremy Clarkson goes to meet him and stuff like that. And
I need to watch this.
Yeah, he's a great guy. He seems really like enlightened. Like
yeah. Like, you think to yourself, oh, they're just weird. They're weird people. Some are eccentric and you love them, but you think, oh, bloody weird. And then you think to yourself, I'm actually kind of jealous because they're happy they've found what makes them tick. And they just, they love it and they're living for it. And it makes you think, like, you can say what you want about these people, but they are genuinely happy in life,
Yeah. But he seems like so happy and content with his life. But like Belgium as well, like they've got museums for like everything. I was reading, like they have museums for like the most like day-to-day stuff that you can think of, like toilets and stuff like that. Or there's even like underwear museums somewhere.
Serious?
Yeah, like there's this guy he collects. He goes around sending letters to all the royal families of Europe, or the ones that still exist, saying, "Can I have your underwear, please?"
Lovely. Oh, it's amazing. Man. I'm guessing they actually give him stuff if he's got a museum.
I think he has managed to get some stuff from thereabouts, but
fair play to him. I mean,
Yeah, I remember one. Was it Queen Victoria? They found some of her old underwear, and it's literally it's quite big apparently. And there's one like George IV as well. His bridges or the trousers he used to wear, they were like 54 inches or something like that.
Wonderful.
And that was just containing him. He was actually a lot larger than that.
Oh my god.
So
Bloomies.
Yeah, he was massive apparently.
Oh my god. Nice.
Yeah.
Let's stick that in a museum.
Yeah.
Then again, like we talk about, like, oh my god, I can't believe it. But then again, you know what? I wouldn't have known he was that big if we hadn't seen the pants. So
yeah,
I learned something from that. You know.
Yeah, and it is a warning. Don't get too big.
For your britches, yeah.
Yeah, because...
or at least, if you do plan on dying, you know, leave thin, sexy-looking pants around the house so people think, you know, he was actually quite good.
Yeah, but he was one of those typical like people who like still believe they look like they did when they were younger.
All right.
Even though, you know, he basically ate himself to death, I think, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this guy, he dressed up in his penguin suit. Yeah. I've seen him in this documentary, and it just says in it, when I die, I'll be buried in my penguin suit. I think that's brilliant. You know, that's like, you always hear these people who they want to like be shot up in a rocket or something when they die, but he just wants to be buried in his penguin suit.
Oh, I like that, man.
Yeah.
You know, but I feel sorry for the kid who finds that penguin suit somewhere out in the wilderness one day.
Yeah.
Thinks, oh, I can't wait to see what.
It's a bit. I think South America's the place. Is it? It's somewhere like where they like their coffins. They actually they have they'll have like big fish shaped coffins and stuff.
Oh, that's in Nigeria.
Nigeria, is it? Oh.
I think Nigeria or somewhere near the Congo, but
yeah,
they have these outrageous designs for coffins.
Yeah.
Oh my god, some of them are amazing. Like one of them is like a sushi fish.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like one last way to piss off your family before you kick it. You know?
Yeah. The weirdest thing I've heard about sushi is the fact you can eat it off naked people. I'm like,
oh yeah.
I really wouldn't want to eat something if it's been on someone's skin.
They would have to be like sterilized before you. I mean, I'm being like, I'll eat a fucking quaver if it's fallen on the ground for more than 5 seconds, and yet, like, if it's on some very clean woman's belly, I'll still be like, oh, but it's fish. Priorities.
Yeah, no, that's, I'm not doing that. So yeah, I'm just going to see if I can. Yeah, I think just go back to the time travel theory quickly. What some theory is that they found the wormhole or something like that. I don't know much about time travel, so I don't know whether that's a big thing in time travel theory. So
I don't know.
So yeah, let's go and see how many more theories there are. Really.
While you're doing that, how would you like to go?
How would I like to go?
On a lighter note, you know, how are you gonna, you know, probably, I don't know if you want to shoot yourself up in a rocket, but
I don't know how I'd like to go. I'd either like it to be peaceful or fun, if you know what I mean. I wouldn't mind doing something fun.
Doing something fun? Yeah. Oh, sorry, not when to go. I mean, how would you like your body to be sent off?
Oh, sent off. I don't know. I mean, to be honest, I wouldn't mind us being thrown to lions for food or something like that. I mean, I don't think lions would actually eat people.
That's actually quite a nice thought, you know, to help out some rare animals or something.
Yeah, I like. I don't want to be buried. I probably. I mean, if I was to be normal and predictable, I'd probably go for cremation.
Yeah. Did you ever have those fears of waking up and being like, "Oh shit, here we are"?
Yeah.
But I think at that point you'd be so old, you'd be like, "Well, fuck it," you know. I'm not feeling pain. I'd want to be if you're up to me, I'd want to be one last nuisance to everyone, an ongoing nuisance. So I'd probably either somehow use connections to get myself buried in like a TV studio or something.
Yeah.
Or have myself dressed in like royal clothes, like crown and royalty, and then buried somewhere in the country, and then someone will find me and be like, oh fuck, I think we found a king again.
I wouldn't mind being made a scarecrow or something like that. That'd be creepy.
That'd be creepy.
Just
but
like,
awesome.
after a few years, well, more than a few years perhaps, you'd just be like a skeleton, kind of, with some, like, a scarecrow clothes on you.
Jeepers Creepers style.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
So, yeah, that'd be amazing. Yeah.
That would be cool.
I think we're really doing our reputation for not being kind of odd here really well.
Yeah. Well, we are odd.
Yeah, we're not ashamed of that.
Not ashamed
Mostly.
of that. Like, what reputation?
Yeah, reputation.
Like, reputation. I'm just surprised we haven't talked about paedophiles for a couple of hours, you know? I broke the record.
I tell you what, I was watching, we talk about train documentaries.
Yeah.
I was watching, it's not a train documentary, this one was a train advert for Intercity, and you'll never guess who is doing it.
Oh, go on.
Jimmy Savile.
Brilliant!
And do you know what his first line is?
Oh.
Do what I do.
Oh.
It's like, yeah, one of the YouTube comments was like, no thanks.
Yeah.
It is, like,
what documentary is this?
It's not it's an advert for Intercity trains. It's like saying all the places you can get to, and it's like saying how cheap it is and stuff like that.
Strangely enough, I think was that an early noughties?
No, I think it's
90s
80s. It's 80.
Then I don't know it.
Yeah, it's on YouTube somewhere. I just I'm not sure I type Jimmy Savile into YouTube.
Creepy. I'm gonna have to look it up though.
But yeah, literally first line, do what I do, and like you're like no.
The cringe is strong with this one.
Yeah. So there's one more theory that I want to go into.
Yes. Nice.
The theory about the capsules is possibly that they were taking LSD.
Okay.
And that they were trying to, that whole enlightenment thing, psychedelic enlightenment.
Oh, that might explain the whole close your eyes sort of thing. Like, don't trust your vision.
Yeah, I can see this one possibly being true. And I think LSD I must have got to Brazil by that time. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if that kind of thing started in Brazil.
Wouldn't be surprised. I mean, but I think it's one of those sort of cases. Hang on a minute. These, if that were the case, these two men, obviously they know they had records on these two men.
Yeah.
Did they ever have any history of drug use?
Not that I can tell of. It's 66. I don't know how detailed some of these reports would be. I think they tend to be a lot more detailed these days. I think back then you just get very brief details. I think. So what I was reading is that there's a statement in the newspaper by someone who describes him as a professor of yoga, and he says he believes the local spiritualist community were quite big into the whole psychedelic drugs and stuff like that, and it's just he believes it was just Miguel just died to an accidental overdose, which I can see being true. That one, accidental death, I think.
I mean, at the same time, even if it wasn't a history of drug use, if it was their first time, that could explain why it went so wrong, I suppose. Yeah.
I always like when they call it accidental death, they sometimes call it misadventure or something like that. I think that sounds like so fun.
It's like a very British way of summing it up.
Yeah. Yeah, that's usually what they call it when these people they self-asphyxiate themselves or stuff like that, or they died in S&M kind of orgies or stuff. Yeah.
Had a bit of a whoops.
Yeah. Some people believe that this kind of fits the very limited amount of information we've got on this one. It's the one that fits the best, which I can believe being true. I think as one of the articles I read saying, it's just there's so little information and it's so long ago in some ways, and it being kind of most of it's kind of coming from it's in Portuguese and it's Brazilian newspapers who they didn't really. There's not much. You can't really find many of like the Brazilian newspapers. There's only like one really that they were able to properly find that mentions it. So whether they, because I don't know whether they archived many of like the newspapers.
Well, they probably did, but
yeah.
Well, you've seen that sometimes they can't even keep track of their own archives.
Yeah. So yeah, that's where I think that's pretty much it. To be honest, I do quite like the whole psychedelic kind of idea.
That angle, yeah. I quite like aliens, man. I'm holding out for alien cultists. Maybe they took drugs as well. You never know. Yeah,
it could have been. It could have, like, whole psychedelic drug could have gone into the whole cult almost one. That you have to take it to get to this spaceship or something like that.
Yeah, at that point, you'll probably believe anything. So, like,
yeah. But nice. I do like the whole idea of scientific spiritualists. So.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not sure I like the idea, but I do find it kind of interesting in a way. Because in Leicester, there is actually a church for the scientific spiritualists.
There is.
I'll pass it on on my bus route to get into.
I'm guessing
Leicester.
They're not as aggressive as the American equivalent, are they?
No, they're not. No, I never actually see anyone go in there. It always seems quite empty from what I've seen. So I don't know, but yeah, I think that's pretty much all the theories I've got. I couldn't really find any other ones, to be honest. So
well, at the same time, I think that kind of covers it, but we'll never find an actual reason for it in the end.
Yeah, because all like the there's nothing to get from toxicology reports. So yeah, I did. It's got for me. It's either got to be the suicide or accidental suicide. I think just because of the way they were found. I think.
And they're in their suits. They were obviously dressed for the occasion.
Yeah. Yeah, whether that was some specification they had to be dressed up smart, or whether they just wanted to be, wanted to make a good impression when they met these aliens.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, you got to dress up with the MIB.
Yeah,
they're used to that now. So
yeah.
Well, I guess it's a open and shut case on this one, Scully.
Yup. Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
I do. I do kind of quite like it though.
I like it. I love these kind of anomalies. It's nothing you can actually find an actual answer on. Right? We never try to find an actual answer on these things anyway. It's always, let's look at the situation. Let's speculate. Let's have a bit of fun with it. And usually it's just a really good story to have told anyway.
Yeah. But I do kind of want to visit Brazil though. That's what I do feel.
Finding it harder and harder, with all these, because there's more of a focus now with the Olympics coming up. So obviously, all these problems that were there already are getting highlighted.
Oh yeah, that virus thing they've got.
The virus, the water apparently is very toxic in certain areas.
Yeah.
Then you've got like gangs upon gangs.
Oh yeah.
Just watch City of God, Matt. That's all I need to watch.
Yeah, we'll go there one day. Hopefully.
One day, man. One day. We'll go into the outback. I mean, we still have to find Peter Fawcett,
Yeah. I kind of like. I'd probably last about 2 minutes out there, but I would love to go out around like the Amazon.
It'd be a glorious 2 minutes, though. I tell you what. If this thing lasts 10 years, on the 10th anniversary, we'll go find Peter Fawcett.
Yeah. That's a good ambition. That is.
That's a great ambition.
We'll definitely find him because we're like. We
are together in that area. We're weird, but we're together,
Yeah. On that point, I do have to mention to our listeners that we're going to be going away soon. We're going to go on a tour of the Dorks Duction are going on a tour on the Beaver bus. So
yes,
we well, if we can prize Tarmen away from her children's party, so that is.
I'm just imagining that, but what's that? A bus that it looks like Dermot O'Leary on the back.
You know what I mean. Breen, the Megabus.
Megabus, that's the one.
Yeah.
That big old face on the back. They have it in America as well, don't they?
Do they? Oh,
yeah. Megabus. I swear I saw it on an American sitcom or something.
Yeah. It's one of those things where every time you pass it, it's You can't help but think of Dara O'Brien.
You can't.
It's kind of ingrained in your brain.
What did I say? Dharma O'Leary? Oh, dear.
I don't know. I don't think. Well, they're Irish names, are they? I guess.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we're going to be gone for a while, but hopefully we'll be back. You know, when we're
back soon enough. You know.
Hopefully, yeah. Have a little break.
You know.
Have a Kit Kat.
We've got to ride the Beaver bus while we still can.
Yeah.
While Beaver's willing to take us. So.
Yeah, well, it's goodbye from me.
Yeah, and it's goodbye from me.
And don't forget, you can message us, you can email us, Facebook us at the Dorks Deduction. Give us a message, drop a slap a like on the videos,
Yeah.
A little bit of fun, Argue with Tarmim about the podcast not having video. She loves doing that.
Yeah.
And what else? Have a good time, and may Allah bless your Buddhist crosses.
Buddhist crosses.
I'm just trying to reach out to everyone. Who have I forgot? Oh, Guru Nanak. Or what else?
Yeah.
Satan. Bless them all.
And the Russians. Don't forget the Russians.
And the Russians. God bless Putin.
Yeah. Amazing.
Wonderful man. Kalashnikov.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.